And a fine good morning to you all. Welcome to another week in Arts Administration. Hope you had a good weekend. We are going to talk this week about marketing. So we are moving into a new section, actually, of the course, Success and Planning for Growth. So we're just moving right along. So let's get started and talk about some marketing stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the financial management section. A whole lot of it was not in the books. So make sure you hold on to those notes to review as you go forth into the world and look at financial things. But we finished financial management. We went through a bunch of terminology. We talked about accounting types, cash versus accrual. We talked about different kinds of money and how to organize those in the organization, assets and liabilities, and expenses and income. I really wanted to get more into financial statement analysis to talk about ratios, business risk ratios, which talk about leverage, debt to equity ratios, and that would have some applicability to the theaters. Also current to fixed assets, which we talked about a little bit in measures of financial health. But we need more time. So yes, we talked about indicators of financial health, good rules of thumb about cost of goods sold and operational expenses, that you want to have about a 50-50 mix of that or have a good reason not to, and diversifying your income streams. The case study. So nobody, just so you understand, nobody got 100%, and that's okay. I kind of designed it so that you probably would not. The struggle is more beneficial to learning, so don't worry too much about it. Everybody did a really good job on it. But if you have any questions specifically, go ahead and email me. A lot of them were designed to test your big picture skills and prior skills with accounting topics. So the budget analysis was due yesterday. I will be taking a look at those over the next couple of days, and I should have some answers for you, some grades in the next couple of days or so. So this week is going to be jam-packed, and unfortunately we don't have time to go into all the detail I wanted, but this forces us to get really, really prescriptive with what you should get out of this section. So rather than doing like a full marketing plan, I'm going to talk through kind of the format of it and then just let you guys get some hands-on experience with crafting marketing messages for your theaters based on having a plan. So let's talk about marketing. What is marketing for arts organizations? Well, marketing is all about influence. You are influencing a decision to purchase, getting the products and services to the consumer from the concept of the product to the actual completion of the sale, and making sure that goes smoothly and quickly and as often as possible. Remember that we are not selling just a production. Even though that is where a lot of our expenses are going, is towards making a production. Our core product is a short-term lease on a theater seat. So it really is all about the experience of being in the theater and the community experience there. And marketing is a lot more than just getting the word out, too. That's important because if people don't know when and where the show is, they can't possibly come. But just informing them is not going to induce them to participate. Marketing these shows and the season is a process. Think about it. Think about this. When was the last time you just bought something because you knew that it existed? Well, that doesn't happen. So marketing helps move people through that process. The first piece of it is understanding your audience's needs and what they want to get out of a show at your theater. Once you know what their needs are, you want to strategically target them. You want to be able to segment them so you can customize your marketing messages. Developing future audiences. This is important so that they keep coming back for more, and that they have that sort of baseline understanding of what it is to be an artist and what it is to enjoy and put art into your life. And finally, marketing is about increasing loyalty among existing patrons. You can never go wrong. It's much more expensive to go after new customers than it is to make your current ones happy. So arts organizations that avoid marketing because they're reluctant to cheapen the artistic product, or because they assume that marketing can be accomplished by just simply getting the word out, are missing a huge opportunity. So we're going to cover over the next couple of days. The first thing is just kind of getting into that marketing mindset, kind of purging the idea of, financial management, not to forget about it, but we're going to focus on other things. So we're going to talk about getting into that mindset. We're going to talk about target marketing specifically, which is the branch of marketing that is all about getting people in the seats. We'll talk about analysis, segmentation, and targeting, and which talks about who to influence, who we want to bring in. The 4 P's of marketing, which are the other side. Once we know who we target, we need to know how to target them. And then we'll talk very briefly about the marketing plan and some considerations for creating promotional materials. And then we will have a guest speaker. So the text talks about 3 groups of people that are responsible for convincing people to buy tickets and support the organization. And, looking at these 3 types of roles, they actually kind of slot nicely into our 4 functions of leadership, of management diagram of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So public relations is all about communicating and controlling that positive image for the company. It includes activities like advocacy and communicating with the press, but it's all about that control function. Now, marketing is about positioning that image and the company's value proposition. Positioning is a really important concept because people may be coming to the theater for, not everybody comes for the same reason, even though our theater has a mission to put art in front of the public. But marketing positions that image to appeal to patrons at each stage of engagement. And then the final one is audience development. There generally is not a single audience development function within the organization or a department within the organization. It is a goal that we want to work towards as an entire organization. It's been said that we're all in sales. I think really more accurately, we're all in audience development. We're building relationships with patrons so that we can move them to these higher states of engagement with the organization. So before we get too far into the conversation about marketing, I want to make sure we're all in agreement about whether it's important or not. It's definitely important, but it does get a bad rap sometimes because of the sales orientation that some people have about it. So we're going to bust some myths about marketing in the arts. So the first myth is engaging in marketing means that we're lowering artistic standards. We shouldn't have to stoop to market our products. Well, in order to market properly, you do not have to compromise your artistic principles. Because if you believe this, then you must also believe that nothing that is mass marketed can be of high quality. And we know that that's false because, look at Broadway. Look at there's quality entertainment everywhere that needs a voice and needs to get put out there into the world. So the way to sort of mitigate against that is just, if you use the same standards that you use for developing the artistic product as you do for developing the marketing message, you send a consistent and correct message about your product. Again, it's all about consistency. Consistency in the consumer's mind is very important. So as long as you apply the same standards, you should be fine. Also, it should be noted that communicating your high standards and knowing what you believe in and being strong about that goes back to the 6 domains of leadership. That actually, letting people know who you are, that enhances your organization's personal leadership, as it were. Myth number 2, nonprofit arts organizations are shielded from the marketplace because we are mission focused. Now, that just means that, we shouldn't have to worry about making a buck. We're a nonprofit. Now, it's true that we're on a mission to serve the public. And the mission statement establishes who we serve and what we give them. But even arts organizations, they need money to function. We are in the marketplace. We just have different boundaries around what we do than commercial businesses. The bottom line is that people pay for things that they value, and if they pay for our services, then that is a pretty clear indication that they value our mission. If they don't pay for it, then that means that our mission may not be aligned properly. So, so that's that is a consideration. So the market will definitely prove the worth of our mission statement. Myth number 3, we need younger audiences for the arts to survive. Well, we've talked about this a little bit. While it is true that older females make up the bulk of the theatrical audience, the idea that we need younger audiences for the arts to survive is actually a fallacy. It's perpetuated by kind of established arts organizations that really can't change the way that they make art. So, for instance, a symphony or an opera is unlikely to attract larger crowds without modifying their core product. Younger crowds they prefer activities that are more participatory and informal and spontaneous. You can't have a participatory, informal, spontaneous opera. So looking at the product, you really need to focus on what the merits of the product are and how it's going to attract, how you can modify it to attract a new audience. Maybe you can't, and that's okay. But looking at the product and how it can attract a new audience is better than figuring out how we're going to make younger audiences like something that is not traditionally targeted towards them. And this, by the way, is why we need new companies and why we need new theater companies, and why I certainly hope you guys go out and start a new theater company. To serve these new markets with new and innovative products, this process of creative destruction where it's historically very difficult for established organizations to change at all. So put that little bee in your bonnet. And the last myth is that the decline in arts education in schools is the main reason that our audiences are declining. And so the premise underlying this is that people need to be educated about what art and what theater are in order to appreciate it. And, education is a factor in the decision to participate in everything. So in that sense, yes, it's important. But really, you can't blame a lack of knowledge of Shakespeare for poor attendance if there are no posters for it, or if there's no social media presence, or no reviews, or if the website is crap. It's not just to show quality that gets people in the door. Early childhood exposure is one way to do it, but we know that the theater experience is more than just what is going on stage. It's not just the show quality that gets people in the door. It's how do you position that experience as adding to their lives and being a part of their lives, their social and their personal lives. So now that we've debunked some myths about marketing, let's talk about the process of influencing people. The kind of branch of marketing that we're most familiar with is called target marketing. And what is target marketing? Well, since many arts organizations spend a lot of time selecting things to promote and the venues to promote them, they spend more time doing that than actually trying to locate specific groups that will be receptive to our message and they'll convert. Everybody wants to believe that all they have to do is hear about our show and you'll want to come spend money on it. But the reality is some people are just more likely than others to participate. So it makes sense to find out who these people are. So target marketing takes that as its premise. And the idea is that we select a set of buyers that we're going to serve based on their potential to be attracted to our offerings. And there are 6 steps in this target marketing process. So we'll go through a little vocabulary to start with. The first is analyze. We're going to determine the characteristics of our current audiences, and that involves sifting through data of ticket sales and surveys that we might run on our existing audiences. Next, we want to segment those audiences, and we want to divide them according to their demographic and geographic and psychographic characteristics. What does psychographic mean? It's interest-based. What are they interested in? So once we've got these different segments of an audience, then we want to start targeting them. We want to determine which of those segments offer the best chance of success. So, one thing, there are good targets that have characteristics in common with your current audience. You want to select audiences that you can reach, not the ones that you feel like you should be reaching. It's the low-hanging fruit analogy. Another thing about good target audiences is they're very clearly defined. You want to, instead of targeting just young people, we want to be as specific as possible. College students in arts and sciences programs in the Triangle area, the who, what, and where. That is a good target. Good target audiences are substantial. We want to make this group worth going after, so that the possible reward of getting these people in seats is worth the expense of going out and getting them. The final thing to think about targeting is they're actionable. We can reach them with our current resources. There's no point in going after women over 70 who are not in a retirement home unless you can find some media outlet or club or group that caters to that group. There's no point in trying to invent that. Also, if you don't have the money to go after them, then just pick a different target. Some of the other vocabulary, and we'll be going into this in coming up slides, is positioning, which is describing how the organization wants to be perceived by these target audiences, and then developing messaging and delivering it through different channels to each target. So we said we were going to be prescriptive with this marketing segment. And so in the interest of that, we're going to simplify the first 3 steps of the target marketing funnel, the analyze, segment, and targeting. In 2001, there was a nonprofit think tank called the RAND Corporation, which broke down building participation in the arts in a 120-page document. And it gave arts marketers a practical way of approaching the task of segmenting their markets. But basically, the practical method is you look at your audience and you divide them. Every audience your audience has 3 groups of people, and each of these groups needs different tactics and different messaging to go after them. So the first group is the yes group. And these are people who are already participating. So they have purchased tickets in the past. They are your subscribers. They are already your supporters. And to go after this group, they're already sold on the value of your organization. So your goals to market to them are to really deepen and enrich their experience with your organization, encouraging them to participate in more and different ways by making them feel important. In the text, there's the Danni Newman who talked about how to do subscriptions and to treat the subscriber as the most important ticket buyer, and make premium seating available. Give them first chance to buy tickets, that sort of thing. Access to special events, additional shows, and so that plays into this yes group very, very well. If you bought 1 ticket, well, how about buy 3 this next time around? If you bought 3, well, you might as well get a subscription because it's cheaper and you get these additional benefits. So making additional participation affordable to the yeses. Now, the next group is the one that we kind of traditionally think of, when we talk about marketing and making new markets happen. This is the maybe group. Okay, so these guys, they would participate if the conditions were right. So if a friend invited them, or if the theme were something interesting, or if they knew somebody in the cast. So there's different, we call these points of entry into the organization. So marketing tactics should be focused on discovering which of these points of entry are the most enticing for particular shows, and then market to those. For example, there's the Irish play in the text. Marketing tactics to go after these folks would be to go after the maybes would be to focus on the personalities of the actors and to promote them. So maybe that somebody in the community knows somebody in the cast. So promoting the performers, finding people who just love Irish culture, working with travel agencies and local pubs and Irish retail shops. So these are ways that we can go after the maybe group. The other thing, talking about entry, is to eliminate barriers to entry. So these are people who are going to be turned off by barriers to entry. Your yeses are already used to parking in your parking structure, and they know to show up at 7:30. But the maybe group, there may be additional barriers to entry. So to discover what those are and address those through your marketing is the way to bring those folks in. And then finally, there's the no group. Now, these people are just simply not inclined to participate at all. Maybe they are averse to arts programs in general, or there's an income level or a racial or social or educational difference between them and the folks who are your yeses and your maybes. You don't want to abandon these people. You don't want to just move on. Now, one way to go after this group would be creative destruction. Form an entirely new company that's solely dedicated to going after the no's. The other option, if you don't want to do that, is simply diversify your own organization and somehow make sure that the voices of these other groups are heard within your organization so that you can adapt your programs to them. If it's education, then maybe developing an arts education program in your geography in order to bring the no's along. So by segmenting your audience this way into these three groups, you kind of have a good general idea of the tactics that you can use to attract them. So once you have selected your targets, the next piece is to select the elements of our organization and offers that are most likely to appeal to that target audience. And we call this positioning. Positioning really, just like our show season does with the mission statement, we want to make sure that all of the promotional materials align with the positioning statement, just like we have the shows that align with our mission statement. Positioning is describing the organization's image and offer in a way that's just calculated to appeal to the target. Now, it takes the mission and vision and value statement as kind of its core and then adapts them. We don't want to make up stuff. We don't want to lie in our positioning when we develop a marketing campaign. We want to stay true to the mission when we develop a positioning statement. It's a little bit stilted. We don't use it directly in the ad copy, but just like a mission statement, this is the mission statement for our marketing campaign. So here's a format. This is a good format for positioning a positioning statement. It says, to our target, who has these needs, our organization provides whatever services address those needs, unlike whatever competitors are out there. So in an actual example, going back to our good friends at Child's Play Theater, so we might say families in Curd County with school-aged children. That's our target, who are looking for quality, affordable activities. That's their needs. We'll be pleased to find that Child's Play Theater provides entertaining, wholesome, educational theater programs. There you go. Unlike other entertainment options that may be inappropriate for young children. And you might, go into specifics of, which, if you truly are competing against, television or movies or that sort of thing, that might be something that eventually in your creative you speak to, but you also might call it out specifically, unlike movies and television, in your positioning statement. And the final two steps in our target marketing funnel are to develop and deliver. And specifically, that's the messaging that's going to go out to the public. Now, I had an old theater coach who talked about the 4 Ps, and he always used to say they're pitch, pause, pace, and power as regards delivering your lines. So this was a little bit of a stretch for me to learn. The 4 Ps are product, price, place, and promotion. So in order to influence participation and go after our target, we developed what's called the marketing mix, which is the combination of these factors that we use to influence the consumer behavior. And the marketing mix targets those specific market segments. We build on the campaign mission statement, or positioning statement. We focus on just those elements that we want to create action in our targets. So let's talk through the 4 Ps now. First P is product. A product is a bundle of benefits and attributes that a company provides. Now, all of these attributes, they combine to make up the product that we're selling. So what do I mean by attributes? Well, if we're talking about theater, the core product is the play, the musical or the show. And the benefits or the attributes of the show, or we have actors, we have costumes and dialogue and sets. But as we know, because theater is a community event, it also includes the theater itself, and what does the playbill look like, and how good are the concessions, and how nice are the house management staff, and how do they behave, and what was the ticket sales process like? Was it easy to buy a ticket? Was it easy to get my money back? Was it easy to change my ticket? So really, these are all attributes that go into the product that we are selling. So the question is, which of these attributes are we going to bring out according to the positioning statement? The second P is price, which is simply the amount that a consumer pays for the particular product. When we look at price and setting prices, a lot of times pricing is guesswork, and especially when we're a new theater company in a new location. You should base your pricing on data rather than just your gut feeling, even if it is just looking at a survey of what the existing prices for tickets are in the area. But your price should also incorporate a perceived value also. There's that uniquely human trait that says that we value things at what we pay for them. So a high price would imply that there's higher quality. So that's something to consider as well. 3 basic pricing methods that we use. There's cost-based, which is just where we look at how much. This is solely looking at our own production. We look at our production costs and we add a profit margin. We say it costs $10,000 to make this show. We're going to charge tickets that we can make 15 from. Let's say. Demand-based or variable-based pricing. This is where it's based on how many people want the product in a particular period of time. So, example, Tuesday through Thursday, their show prices might be a little less expensive because there's less demand. So we just respond to the supply and demand curve. And then competition-based, which is based on prices at other businesses. Now, these could be direct competitors like other theaters, or indirect competitors like other art forms or entertainment or sports or that sort of thing. So these are ways that we can look at what makes sense to charge for a ticket. There are several pricing analysis tools that marketers use. We won't really go into these in any practical sense, but it's important that you know what they are. Obviously, historical data, look at what we've charged in the past. Hopefully, you will be able to see trends based on attendance and ticket sales to determine what the market would bear. There's also this max diff that the book talks about, where we look at each attribute of the product. So, ticket price, seats, concessions, preferential treatment, that sort of thing. to understand which features of the product we want to promote or to improve. And then there's conjoint analysis, which takes that max diff principle and combines the attributes. So you can say, well, would you pay this amount? How much would you pay for this amount for a front row seat and drink and a parking pass? If you do that enough times, then you can discern what the market would actually pay for individuals of those. And that's kind of that's a clever way to do it, because otherwise you get people saying, well, I would pay something, I would value something at more than they actually would. That's the old, people say that they want their news to have facts in it, or they want their videos to have facts in them, but really what they actually watch is cat videos. So, but conjoint analysis takes that out of takes that personal bias out of the equation. The third P is place, which is where the consumer encounters your product. Now, theater companies with a dedicated presence, they really only need to think about their building and their office. But where you choose to lease space can affect the perception of your product also. But basically, it's any location that the company directly controls. So the theater building, could be the website or a mobile app, rehearsal space, where the offices are. These are all places where people can encounter your place. The same production, though, in a high school gym has a very different impact than in the Duke Energy Center. So it's not just places that you own, but it is places that you lease as well. Leggett feels and sounds a lot different from the Keenan Auditorium. So the product is going to be perceived very differently in each of those locations. Customer service is the biggest human factor that plays into place. The customer experience with the ticket sales rep, or an usher, or the person handing you a program, those people are going to add to your audience's feelings about that encounter, and that's going to add to the overall impression of the organization. So that factors into place. Finally, there's promotion, which is the message and the medium that's used to bring attention to a product. The promotion piece is really you're communicating information to the marketplace about the product, and that hopefully moves the audience to purchase the product. The message is the words and the pictures that you use in your advertisement or your promotion or your social media marketing, that sort of thing. And then there's the medium, which could be print or online or in person. The four basic types of promotion that there are, though, it breaks down into direct marketing, which is what an organization does to promote itself to your yeses. So it's brochures and newsletters and email marketing and signage within the theater itself or outside. Then there's advertising, which I think is probably targeted more to maybes. You can do print advertising and banner ads and social media. These are, you're paying to get your message on other sites that you don't control. Sales promotions, so coupons, gifts, tie-ins, if there are other organizations that you work with. And then personal selling, influencer marketing. This is for newer organizations, I would be very interested to see more influencer marketing talking about the value of particular productions. Presentations, telemarketing, that's kind of the perennial one, and then just people at your box office. Different market segments and demographics, they're receptive to different types of promotion, and certainly their usage of different mediums is different. So it's very important to consider this when you are selecting media and crafting your promotional message. So that is the basics of target marketing. And so for our next assignment, this is a good lead into our next assignment. We're going to go back to the Build Your Theater milestones. Good news, we're only going to do one. Instead of both milestone 9 and 10, we're going to do both of them together. And the idea is to come up with a target marketing campaign framework. Your theater company has mission, vision, and value statements, and you've also fleshed out a location and an audience that you'd like to go after in our previous assignments. So now you're going to build a target marketing campaign to address this market. Imagine that you have selected your target market based on the research that you've done, that your market is there. With the mission, you wouldn't have come up with a mission statement if you didn't have the target market there already. So you're going to create the positioning statements, and we're just going to do one piece of promotional material. We'll talk through more about promotional material on Wednesday, but for right now, again, building on your strategic framework documents and the market analysis paper, you'll build out a campaign. We'll talk more about the promotional pieces on Wednesday, but if you use, so I would say just for the next couple of days to really take a look at the positioning statements example in this lecture and see if you can build a positioning statement for your theater based on your mission and your target audience. And then we'll talk more specifically about the promotional pieces again on Wednesday. And finally, I've got a little bit of homework for you guys. So on Friday, we've got Danni who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for North Carolina Theater, and she has graciously agreed to talk to us about what it's like to do marketing for a large regional theater. She's going to be meeting with us. We're going to do it live this time around on Google Hangout. Everybody should have the calendar invite. You should be on that. And there's the link for it here as well. If you can't attend live, I will record the session, and so you can watch it later. But please try and be there for the live Hangout. This is going to be good practice also for the final when we are going to do the final live, and you guys are going to be presenting on it. So this will be good practice. So take a look at her info, and I want you to think about what questions you would like to ask her based on the readings and the lecture that we've just had. There are a lot of good topics. Some of the things that she may be talking about are the show selection process and how marketing fits into that. We know that that's a huge deal because they need to pick shows that are going to bring people in. Advertising and marketing generally, what tactics work, what tactics don't work, figuring out the market, how specifically North Carolina Theater has done that, has figured out who's in their audience. I can ask about creatives and promotional design. Who does their graphic design work? Do they have somebody in-house? Do they outsource it? Who has a say in the final approval? What's the process for approving it? I am going to ask about promotional videos because I want to know how they deal with licensing and rights and that sort of thing, and how much background music they can play, because I would love us to do more of that here. And then the marketing budget, how do you set it? How do you expand it? How do you justify it? So please come up with 2 questions for her and submit them on Moodle by class time on Wednesday. And that will basically do it for us. Wednesday, we're going to talk through promotional materials again. So make sure that you've read Chapter 10 of the Rhine textbook. Your homework is due, your 2 questions for Danni. And then she'll speak on Friday, where we will also have the milestones due. So that's it. Have an excellent Monday, and I will talk to you later. And feel free to email me with any questions you